All right.
What's up? What's up?
Can we hear? I hear you. That's good.
I hear you.
There it is.
Hello.
87,000 people. The amazing folks of the Sanctuary Discord channel. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. We decided to come in a little bit early. Couldn't hold in the excitement. I think I do want to see. Just trying to pull up the chat here, just so I can see what's going on. Apologize
Oh,
early. You're
some
kind of
people are
dealing
saying no
with
volume.
my.
Can they? You guys hear?
Yeah, I'm looking at chat to see. So if you guys need, you can always pull out the chat on the side. Already seeing some epic gifs. First thing I saw was a cat getting yeeted from from a tornado. So that's great. And yes, Slovaki, you're right. That is Spirit Bjorn. He is joining us today. Appreciate you guys and all the patience. We're just getting things all set up on our side over here. But like, yeah, Bjorn, I think I heard you. Definitely hear Zavin. Just want to see if chat can also see and hear. But you know what? Let's break the rules a little bit. I always say 11. We're just a bunch of people who like video games and want to talk about them. And we can get things started. I mean, let's save the time for all the cool questions that'll come in. We could just do a quick round of introductions. But my name's Rich Mantegi. Some of you may see in some of my posts as Filthy Rich on Blues. I am the lead community manager for the Diablo franchise. So I have the pleasure of doing things like our patch notes updates, hotfix updates, but also some cool stuff behind the scenes for just bridging the gap between these awesome folks like Zav and Bjorn and the rest of the team to all you awesome people out there in the community. Sanctuary chat.
I'll go short. Why not? Hi, I'm
Why,
Zavin.
why not?
Associate Game Director on Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred. And I get to work with a bunch of awesome people making a killer expansion. And I cannot fucking wait for you guys to see it.
That's how we're doing it. 11 on the dot. Drop the F bomb. Let's go. Bjorn. Run it. Run it.
Hey,
I'll be more careful.
Bjorn Mikkelsen, class designer for Diablo 4. Worked on the Warlock, if you can guess.
Right. Last time we seen you was for Spirit Bjorn. Played a whole lot of it. We hit for a lot. Loved it. But all right, so what's going on for today? I mean, most recently, yesterday was a pretty big moment for us. We got to showcase a whole lot of stuff within the world of Diablo. From updates for Diablo 4, for DI, and then a little bit of that magical sauce for D2R. Really great updates, but kind of like focusing on what we're going to be doing today. You may have questions. And I know the Sanctuary Discord really just is the home for a lot of discussions for all things D4. We have the pleasure of having some extraordinary folks who could speak on behalf of the content. And Spotlight kind of started and sparked a lot of the thinking across communities. So we've been monitoring chatter across places like forums, Reddit here, and want to make sure that we can attend to those things. The tone here is super casual. We might not have the answers for everything. We might even make the mistake of sharing too much stuff that we probably won't. But hopefully, we're trained enough. We have awesome people watching us in the background. I can see them all up in my chat, just making sure that we follow by the rules. But the main thing here is ask your questions away. Obviously, there might be questions that we can't answer. We're not going to be able to answer everything because I think for today we have a time slot of 30 minutes, but we'll do our due diligence. We see some amazing people in the community and in chat that I'm seeing from the audience over here. And I think to kick things off, we're just going to scan right through things. So, I mean, I'll as I prepped to pull some questions from chat, Zalvin Bjorn, how's everything been since the announcements from Spotlight? What have you seen?
It feels good to talk about a lot of this stuff. At a certain point, you're just too excited and you want to just let the world know what's going on. So it was a big moment, I think, for the team, having a bunch of their stuff be seen finally by the public and have more details shared. And we have more details to share, but it's good to have a big chunk of that information out now. Everything's feeling good.
Yeah, it's awesome getting to see everybody react to it. Such a crazy announcement trailer. It's nice to finally be able to say Warlock like in public, which is really fun. So that's nice.
Oh, sorry about that. All right, let me just jump right into some questions. To make it super easy for everybody in chat, we don't want to ignore anyone. We really want to drive a lot of the conversation and questions around D4. Obviously, with D2R, so much excitement over there, but just to kind of like keep everybody focused and for us to be able to attend to you. Any questions around D4? Anything around that you've seen for Spotlight? I do see one question over here that I can answer, and it is from, oh man, chat went up. It was about season 12. I think there was an update from season 12, but it's nice to call out the people who asked the questions. Give me one moment. So Radical is asking, any news on season 12? I think most recently, right, we just had our PTR actually just passed. Pretty crazy to go from PTR and then the Spotlight, just like a momentum of like crazy cool updates and things people get their hands on. So I think one thing that we promise on the Spotlight is that we're going to have a deep dive for all things Warlock. Working with these two fine gentlemen on the back end for things. It's going to be a chunky stream. So that stream in itself is probably going to be a little bit longer than normal because we're looking to have both content around the Warlock and a deep dive for that, and maybe some other stuff. But also season 12 updates. You can expect some of the standard stuff where we'll talk on like all the seasonal content that's going to be baked into that, as well as learnings from PTR and kind of learnings from player feedback in the process as well. So if you need to mark your calendars, March 5th is going to be that date. Grab some popcorn, 2 sodas, and a really comfy chair, and then we'll have more updates over there. So I will scroll down. All right, so you know what? I'm terrible at reviewing these things before I even ask it. Just think of it like I'm a crazy moderator at a Comic-Con panel, so I'm just gonna go right at it. So, question from DJ Umbalas. Hopefully I said that right. Also with a +1 emoji. What happened to the old passives in the skill tree? Are they moved elsewhere? I didn't mean to pick that, but that's a pretty awesome question. Either one of you can take it.
Go for it, Bjorn.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we've looked through the passives that we had. I think the main thing I'd say is probably that like if there were good like passives that were like build defining, right? We wanted to sort of maintain those in some way. So those have been moved into various places, maybe legendaries, Paragon, something like that. Whereas now most of the skill tree has kind of like taken more of like the customization side of things to give you that kind of access early to sort of upgrade your skills directly. So there's been a little bit of kind of a back and forth.
I got a feeling, Davin, that you maybe wanted to sprinkle some additional stuff in there, but
Sorry,
otherwise,
I like aired out. I didn't even hear it.
skill tree. Where'd the passives go? What happened?
Yeah. So we kind of wanted to focus the skill tree more on the skills themselves and not give out a bunch of free power. We kind of identified that as where do we want power progression to come from? We generally want it to come from things like items, finding cool stuff, and making cool decisions with crafting and things like that. And the other kind of weird thing is because of the disparity in where you invest your points and how you invest your points, where players are in their journey was kind of all over the place. If you knew to pick passives, you could be doing 4x the damage as somebody who wasn't picking the right passives. And that felt like a weird place for the problem with your build to exist. By kind of cleanly delineating it, it's like, okay, no, the skills is about customization first and foremost. It also means that when players are like, well, why am I not doing enough damage or whatever? They aren't looking across all these different parts of their character to see like, okay, where is the thing that's misconfigured? They can just say like, well, I'm going to go look at my paper doll. I'm going to go see, oh, my items, what am I getting? Do I need more and where do I need more? As opposed to having to constantly cross-reference between these things. And the other thing is, it just let us say, yeah, we're going to massively expand the tree and just triple down on customization. So all the skills are going to have a lot more things. any node that's in the skill tree is about your skills.
I know it's not here, but just a due diligence by some of our awesome folks on like Reddit and forums. I think an extension of the question has been like, how does this relate to uniques? Like, how does the equation and kind of like the progression journey kind of like coincide with the fact that like uniques have all these cool affixes that are game changing? So I'm curious about that. If you guys have any comments on that.
I'll throw out there that uniques are still uniques. They should still be a really cool moment when you get them. So we're not looking to erode like any of the general coolness that you get from this stuff. There'll be some tweaks here and there to accommodate a bunch of the other changes, but broadly speaking, when you get a unique, it should be able to do things for you and unlock new things for you to be able to do. And it's not just straight numbers get bigger.
Awesome. Just making sure I'm muting over here. So apologize for the pauses. Oh, we got a lot over here. So Ignition has a lot. Hopefully you don't have anything that gets me in trouble. Um, you know what, as it relates, I think the first question from Ignition is, with skills on a new skill tree showing 1 to 12, does that mean you can't rank a skill over 12 ranks? Or is it like that? Or is that the 1 out of 5 ranks on today's skill tree? I guess you're just talking about like the call out for numbers and maxes and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah, no, that's similar to the like if you look in your tree right now, you see 1 out of 5, but then if you get them from like items, like
Other
turns
items,
into a
plus
boon
ones.
number, and it's like you have additional from items, that sort of thing. And I also I don't believe 12 is actually the final number on that. I think that might still be in progress.
I think this is a good question as well. His number 2, Ignition with just lightning rounds. Will legendary items still have aspects as a thing that differentiates them from rares?
Yeah. The legendaries still have aspects. We still have aspects. We are changing a bunch of aspects, and obviously we're adding some new aspects here and there. But yeah, legendary items are still in the game. They still have aspects. Changes TBD, right? Don't have a full list of things to talk about right now, but yeah, there'll be some changes, but they still exist.
You know, and I can't help myself. Very smart with how you phrase the questions, Ignition. Since Spirit Bjorn is here, will Centipede Primary Spirit Hall get some love? For all you dot and poison lovers out there.
I mean, all the existing classes are getting a lot of love, so I would expect lots of different updates across the board for both skill tree and probably some class hall stuff. Nothing specific to announce for Spiritborn.
Yeah, and I think for the folks at home, it definitely was one thing that we mentioned during the spotlight. Like the skill tree rework is introducing a slew of new change, like just overall changes. There was a number. I don't want to mistakenly call it out. Was it 80? Just kind of like something that Brent had mentioned, but just like
Just
yeah, this introduces a
throw the
lot
meta
of new
out.
skills.
Like, it doesn't just throw it all out. Like, all this stuff is gonna be kind of rebuilt and redefined going into Lord of Hatred. All skills are getting love, including ultimates, like everything.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna just call it out. Kip Duran was asking, should we expect more shadow drop this year? Kip, if we told you, it wouldn't be a shadow drop. But in the chat, I'm just curious how things have been. You know, we've been doing a lot of the shadow drops, obviously with TJ's Paladin yesterday. Um, Community here has been. It's always nice to be able to see some of the feedback and try to like, if people are liking it, maybe we can incorporate some of that stuff. So yeah, if there's lots of feedback. We have a lot of people, even internally, that are just watching from over here. So I am kind of like stuck on the question so I'm going to skip maybe 10 rows down and look. Okay. Hmm. I don't have bosses around me asking just to make sure I ask the right question. So this is about loot filter. I think we can talk a little bit about this question from the role. The loot filter can be salvaged automatically. So I guess just asking like, is there anything around loot filter and auto salvage? I would assume. Good question, Doral.
So, this is gonna be like kind of a complex answer, but I'm gonna start with why the heck does the game have salvage? Just period. Like, why was salvage ever added? Was so that when you pick up an item, there's value to you picking up that item, no matter what. And it was like, okay, well, now, yes, you're picking up crap, and you're gonna, this is a bad item for me. I don't want it. But at least the act of picking it up can become materials that I can then go and, at the time in Diablo 3, take the Hadrig or whatever. So adding a loot filter is just kind of a moment for the team to re-examine this flow in particular. If we're saying, hey, what we want is the users, right, the players to decide what it is that they want to pick up, then we don't necessarily need to incentivize you to pick up everything all the time anyway. And so what that means is, no, there is no auto salvage, and a bigger piece of that is we're trying to do away with saying salvage is a requirement at all levels of play. Maybe it's something that you can do in the very beginning of your item journey, but it's not necessarily something that needs to last all the way to the end of pinnacle content. At a certain point, you don't need to be picking up everything just to fill up your bag and go to town. You can say, well, yeah, I don't want to see that stuff. I'm going to turn off these things using the loot filter so it doesn't clutter my inventory at all. And then I'm going to have the things I actually care about. I'm going to pick those up, right? And you are basically determining what is valuable to you already. And so we're just going to say, yeah, trust the player. They know what they want. Let them pick it up. And this also means that we generally eliminate a lot of the weird friction you get from a town loop. My bag is full of things I don't care about because that is what I need to do to get my salvage mats all the time. So then I'm going to go salvage. So it's not that we don't want to do auto salvage, it's that we don't want salvage in the game if it's not actually serving its core purpose, which we are kind of doing away with. So there's a little bit of salvage, but it's not something that's going to affect, if we do this right, it's not going to impact anyone late game by the time they're using a loot filter.
Like an extension of a question around loot filter, and I think comments that we've also seen yesterday is that the demonstration during the spotlight video actually had some of the loot filter gameplay embedded in there. By the way, folks, there will be some stuff in there that is like still in development, so what you're seeing may not be final. But Valkyrie actually has a good question, and I've seen this a lot pop up on places like the internets. Blue filter snippet was shown had filtered out grayed out items. Is there an option to remove the text completely? It's particularly users worried about the screen clutter.
Yeah, that I don't actually think what you were seeing was grayed out items. I think you were seeing items not being highlighted. I gotta go take a
Just
look at it. But
just,
yeah,
just not
yeah,
highlighted.
filter
Yeah,
means filter. You can't interact with the thing. It's on the ground. Yeah.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, so it's there, just not highlighted. But again, maybe something that'll be different once we actually see it, once it's live, because the video content may have been still in early development for some of the things. All right, there are more scrolling. Okay. We have more questions around uniques. But here's one around sets. So Aoi Miku, the first paladin. Good name. It has two questions, but I'm going to pull out the second question. Sets in D3 generally define what could or could not be played, as this was one of the reasons stated to why sets didn't come to D4 right away. Oh, it was getting spicy. What steps did you take to finally be able to introduce them into the game without the side effect? Great question. By the way, folks, I am heavily influenced by some of the questions that do have a lot of the "this to be honest" emojis after. It seems like other people also want to get questions on this. So please, by all means, if you see a question that you love, comment or emoji on top of it, or emote emoji.
So I'm gonna touch a little bit on this, but then Bjorn, if there's any specific ones you kind of want to talk about, um, uh, go for it. But like in Diablo 3, when we added the sets, eventually when they got to the point that everyone's talking about where it's like 10 plus 10 billion% damage to bash or whatever the heck, when we got to that point, it was an effort to try to get balance under control to some degree, but also because sets were so rare that players had a very negative reaction to, well, I've completed the set and now it's worse than everything else I could wear, so why the heck would I ever complete a set? So there's just this bad tension that existed between the rest of the itemization and completing a set, which should be a cool moment that you get to do, and it is one of the hardest things to achieve logically because you need the full set of items to get the full benefit, right? So that is one of the reasons we did not do this in Diablo 4. We are bringing sets exclusively to Talisman. So if you didn't see the video, Talisman is the new system in Lord of Hatred that lets you have charms, and one of the things charms can be is they can be part of a set. What this means is sets have no kind of competition with the rest of your gear. So we don't have that tension going into Lord of Hatred that we had with Diablo 3. And honestly, this was kind of a cool light bulb moment on the team. It's like we've always wanted to do sets, but how do we do them right? And we were excited to do charms, and they just felt like, oh man, these things go together so well. It resolves a bunch of the issues over here in terms of competition with the rest of the gear slots. And then you get to have sets in the game, so you get to have that cool collection moment. And the other thing is, we're not necessarily in the same place that Diablo 3 was. where we're having to throw 10 billion% damage on a single skill. That's not the intention here. It's more like playstyle customization and cool things you can do. And we also have the addition of the seal, which is a different item type that goes into the talisman. And that actually hooks into your set bonuses. So depending on the sets you have, your seal actually modifies those. And there's a lot of cool interplay that can happen where maybe you don't want to run a 5-piece set bonus. Maybe you want to do 2-2-2 of 3 different sets. And maybe your seal enables that as an example. Bjorn, if there's any specific things you want to throw out there, they're probably hungry for it.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up to attend to the appetite, but Bjorn, go ahead.
Yeah.
And be ready. Be
It's an
ready.
interesting question. I think maybe I don't want to like lead you guys on too much, but like I think maybe one way to sort of think about it is like I think we really enjoyed like key passives in the skill tree. They did a really good job kind of like rounding out a build, sort of amplifying a play style. And to some extent, we kind of are looking at the sets as like an evolution of that, of like we can do more with this if we can sort of like express it more. It can be more flavorful. It can do some like extra things. It has like it's not like a single like linchpin of like, hey, this one balance tuning knob needs to be perfect, otherwise like the entire build falls apart. So there's a lot more that can go into these sets, and so it kind of lets us express that ultimate goal of having something that sort of amplifies your play style, more akin to sort of the way key passives did.
I guess just you can get mad at me in person, but I'm gonna ask because I can imagine myself as a player. The thing that I'm always going to be excited about is like I said, bonus. Is there a chance that we can give like an idea of a cool set bonus, or maybe a favorite that you have that we haven't like quite revealed yet? Because reveals are cool. There are cool set bonus that comes to mind. And you don't have to be 100% descriptive with the affix, but like it may be something that it does, I guess, just to give it like a little bit of idea of kind of like the impact of talismans and things.
There's a okay, so like I'm not going to
And
be
you don't even have to go detailed.
I'm
Just
not
be
going
like,
to be
this is what
overly
it is.
descriptive, but I'll say there's a druid set that lets you have bear companions, which I think is really dope.
Okay.
So I'll throw that out there.
All right, guys, let your imagination run there. So it seems like the team definitely had fun with this. Like this is something I love what you mentioned, Fiorin, that you got to see the reaction from players and the impact of things like passives on the skill tree, and now it's started to explore things with talismans and the example of like bears as companions for the druid. All right, let me move on. Man, the time is going fast. We might break more rules and go over for having fun with this. But there was a question that I saw over here that was great. Zaramos. There's 2 questions that are in front of me. Zaramos is asking, any new info about SSF? Will it be ready for LOH expansion?
It will not be ready for Lord of Hatred. It will not be launching alongside Lord of Hatred, but I will say we're still committed to doing it. It's just a matter of when we're going to be able to do it. The team is actively working on it. It's just not something that we're planning on shipping alongside Lord of Hatred. And by the way, some of this is actually just intentional. Like we want to put the game out there. We're changing so much stuff. And before we say, go make a character that's locked to solo, let's make sure everything's in a good place before we can actually do something like that. And so the other piece of it is, logically tied very much to the tower and leaderboards. Like that's the core reason I think people are really hunting for something like this. And that is still also in a beta phase.
Oh. This one I can't ignore, just has a lot of emotes behind it. But another question from Ignition. Are greater affixes turning into a chance drop chase item for ancestrals? Let me read.
Jordan, you want to grab that one?
Sorry, say that again.
So the question is, are greater affixes turning into a chance drop chase item for ancestrals? I guess it's like, yeah, are GAs turning into a chase item for ancestrals with the changes coming in? Oh, he edited the question, said not guaranteed. If we need that rephrase, Ignition, I see you in edit right now. May need to rephrase it for us so it's more
Sorry,
direct
need
for.
to rephrase that. Not entirely sure.
Okay, Ignition, I'm gonna go
There's
to the
a
bottom
lot
of
of
the screen.
changes coming, especially with Q and stuff. So it's a
Okay, cool.
much bigger lots of different itemization stuff is happening, I guess. So not
Awesome.
totally sure.
Sorry, Ignition, my bad. But if you want, just put the question up again. You'll probably get the same amount of emotes to follow up. All right, let's see here. Bear companions, scrolling down. Let's see here. Love the positive comments, but feel free to ask some of those questions. A lot of people commenting on SSF. Okay, Beat Dropper. I didn't even scan this, but I see 4 hearts behind it. So Beat Dropper from Maxroll is asking, will all those new systems planned for X2 giving more player agency, like the activity tree, Ragic recipes, talismans, and sets, will this give you the tools to bring back some of the most popular past seasonal mechanics? Damn! Such as witch tides, powers, chaotic, sanctify affixes to the base game. Loaded question. Fantastic. That is a question for the people. But if you needed, I can say the question again. So
No, I can. So I'm not going to say specifically about, like what is a mechanic. I'm not going to say, oh, all of which ties in every part of it is going to come back or anything like that. But we are using specifically like the activity trees as an example, as a good way to bring back some things that had appeared in previous seasons. So a lot of this is on the monster side. So as an example, Lord Zier's Bloodseekers can ambush you in content if you spec your activity tree the right way. And they have a chance to drop his item pool and things like that. And then we're looking at kind of other things that we can do that isn't affected by this. So as an example, sanctification is not in its existing form being transposed directly into Lord of Hatred, but a lot of the cool stuff that went into that is actually we're leveraging as something we're calling transfiguration. It's not exactly the same. It's very similar though. So again, we take the parts that we think are healthy for the long term of the project of the game and try to find a home for them. Another example, let's see, I had another one. If I think of it all. If it comes back to me, I'll mention it. Just away.
just making up excuses for us to have another sanctuary sit down, and then
Yeah,
we
that's
can
fine.
dive in. Jaron, anything to add? Otherwise, I can hop into the next question.
I mean, wait, can you hear me? Just switch my
I
mic.
can hear you better.
Okay, cool.
That
Sweet.
works. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've tried so much stuff in seasons. I mean, obviously we're gonna take inspiration from anything we thought was cool. So yeah.
I didn't want to skip this, and we may not have a reply for it, but I want to be a good speaker for the people. Petronius is actually asking, when will we have Rebirth? Just mentioning comments around that it's tedious to create the same character from scratch each season.
Active discussions, no timeline right now.
Awesome. Yeah, and in terms of like active discussions, for all the people over here, if you're tuning in from Sanctuary or even from other channels, um, the love and passion for past systems and their return or their want for their return, like I want to ensure you that we're voicing your opinions on that. I think the season where we had Chaos Armor was one of the more prominent conversations that we brought and surface in front of like members of the dev team that there's something here. There's a love and appreciation for this, and I think the common thing here is that like players would love to see it again. And I can assure that the players over here that the dev team is hyper receptive to it. But obviously, we're planning down seasons down the line, and you to try and find a good spot for it. And Zalvin explained it very clearly. But just want to make sure that you guys know that we are being your megaphone. Zalvin's probably
I'll
annoyed as
give a
hell
little
for
bit
me.
more color right now, real fast. So why do I say active discussion? It's because the two games are not identical in every respect. So we can't just say, oh, take that and put it here and everything works the same way. It's we want to do the due diligence of stepping through like what does it mean if we did bring it back? How would that change all these other features and all these other systems? What would the player expect from this in the context of Diablo 4? Right. So like we've talked about what we're planning on doing with the tower as an example. We've talked about what we're planning on doing a little bit with looking into Soul Self-Found, right? We just want to kind of approach this holistically and not just cram in things because there's a very good chance they don't mesh well with what the game actually needs from that feature. And we saw something very similar to this with the armory. So that's the only reason that it's not like, oh, we're right jumping into it right away. It's like, wait, slow down. What do we actually want from
Yeah.
this? What do players actually need from this, right? And how is it going to work with all the other things that we're planning on doing?
a little intricate. There's some intricacies over there. Okay, this one I cannot ignore. If I did my mathing right, I'm looking at like there's over 100 emotes on this, and it's coming from Anisia and Anisa. And I believe that it started from Macro Bye Boy. What's up, Macro? So this one we may not have the answer that you want, but the question is, and the comment is, with the great QOL in D2R stashes, do we expect to see better item stacking, priority and specialty stashes, easier UI and navigation, and player versus shared stashes? Super loaded, a whole lot of questions in there, but it sounds just around, any QOL updates coming for player organization, sorting, or anything of that sort.
No things to discuss kind of related to any of those specific topics. We're always looking at what we can do to make the UI flow better. So if there's any very specific things, let Rich know. We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm reacting over the amount of emotes over here, and I think that places like the Sanctuary and forums, this is a place where we are open to have we're open to players having this discussion, sharing feedback and even recommendations. I'm honestly yeah, with voices this loud on it, we're super appreciative, and just to let folks know, like the dev team's all up in there. So while you are seeing blue posts from like folks like myself, Marcus, or Laricana, know that if this is something super important to you, just like voice your opinion over there. I'm glad that I can bring it up now. Apologize that we don't have like a specific answer for you, but just want to ensure that like you guys are being heard. Oh my Lanta. So we plan to have this for 30 minutes. You love that? Oh my Lanta. Um, with your permission, Bjorn and Zavin, you want to go another 5? There's just nothing but great questions over here. How you guys feeling?
Keep going.
All right, and no crazy leaks from the blurred background, so I'm not in trouble yet. All right, so let me go down.
Nobody can see that whiteboard.
Okay. I like this question from Neo3 Raccoon. Shout out to Neo3. I'm excited to play that, by the way. Question: in your philosophy, what is something you would want to offer as a reward for the very late game of the game? Is it going to be more loot? Are there plans for some cosmetics to show off for those who play a ton each season? Good question, Neil. Good question, good game.
I'm sorry, you like got crunched again. Can you say that again? Sorry.
Okay. So Neil was asking, in your philosophy, what is something you would want to offer as a reward for the very late game of the game? Is it going to be more loot, or are there going to be plans for cosmetics to show off for those who play a ton each season?
Oh man, this is a hard one. So we do have we've got some things that people can unlock if they put in a bunch of time and they do their season ranks and things like that. So we have a little bit of that already in seasons. For Lord of Hatred, we're looking for things we can give for players who put in a lot of effort. And I want to really caveat this. If you've already beaten the hardest thing in the game, I think we can generally agree more powerful loot isn't the answer necessarily, right? So what is it? And so I don't have anything specifically to say right now, other than that's something that we're looking at. And whatever it is, I think it's more about bragging rights than anything else, because logically you've already surpassed everything that the game can throw at you. So we're looking for what those things are. We've done some things like this, like oh, you get a mount or a cosmetic armor or something like that, or a title or things like that. So we're looking for things like that to achieve the players who kind of go out of their way to, do everything they can in the game. But we know that there's some other parts of the audience that we can definitely serve better. Hardcore is an example, right? Like, what do we specifically do as an example for a hardcore player who does the craziest thing ever? So nothing specific here, and there's no guarantees, but it's something we're always talking about, because ultimately we want the game to feel rewarding when you play it.
Awesome. Another question right now around plans and motivation. This comes from Icy Troll and Max Roll. War plans. Can you talk about what you're trying to solve with this feature? And maybe how you envision the end game to flow with Lord of Hatred? Thanks for the question. We'll probably have time for like two or three more.
Sure. So when the game shipped, base game, we had 3 end game activities pretty much, and then we've added a few more over the seasons, and then we added more with Vessel of Hatred. And we always kind of think about Diablo as a whole as kind of this approachable game. And what we know is, as a result of making sure a lot of these activities have that level of approachability, they are sort of constrained in how deep they could be. So the activity trees and war plans is kind of an opportunity to say, like, hey, the events, no, sorry, the activities can develop and grow, and you can customize them over time, and you can add as much depth or complexity as we can put into the game. What that means is, for a new player walking at Helltide, they're not dealing with all this complexity right off the bat. But for everyone else, now you can have an end game that's kind of fully fleshed out. And the way we kind of described this very early on was giving players the keys to the kingdom a little bit, right? It's like, hey, you customize your character, go customize your end game, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And if we can do it in a way that doesn't become so overwhelming for, more casual players or people who just kind of relax, at the end of the day and not have all this crazy stuff, that's fine. We can maintain that. They can keep that. Everyone else who wants more, they can get more, right? And we can always offer more and kind of develop the additional challenge and complexity and depth in every activity in the game.
I'm gonna rush
I
through
think
this
the
one.
other one was flow, right? Sorry, the other half of this was like, how does it flow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
How does it
uh,
flow with Lord of Hatred?
yeah. So right now, we kind of think about, you have, we call it like the 7 activities, right? You sort of just play them based on what you think they might give you, and then on occasion we'll have a season that puts kind of a magnifying glass on this one or these couple or something like that. So what this means is, the 7 are just kind of floating around the game, and there is not something where it's like a very clear structure and progression to how I go through my end game that is present in the game that the player sort of opts into, right? They just kind of have to figure out, okay, what actually attaches to what now. How do I make sure I'm not wasting my time doing this or instead of that or something like that? So the idea with war plans is everyone could just kind of go through this new thing where you just select what activities you want to play, and we've got that kind of board that everyone's kind of seeing that you can like randomize and has options. It can grow
Mhm.
as you play more, by the way. So it starts very small and then gets really big over time. And then we pair that up with some random rewards on top of what you would normally get. So it's always good to play through the war plan system. And then as you're playing the things via that system, you're getting experience progression towards the actual trees themselves, and lets you customize it. So we're kind of looking at this as a wrapper for the whole game. You can always play the war plan. You can always pick exactly what you want. If you don't want to play a Nightmare Dungeon, don't pick a Nightmare Dungeon. It's as simple as that. So we're not trying to force players and say, go specifically do things in this order, but we are trying to give some sort of structure to the end game, and then give a lot of cool meta progression that kind of goes with that.
Thank you for that. Okay, this one's getting more. This might have to be our second to the last question, and I'm totally over time, but I feel like we're all having fun over here. Um, Question. This comes from Evade GPT. Thanks for the question. Certain builds are reliant on passives in the skill tree, such as the Evade Spiritborn. Seeing as there is no actual skill tied to the build, have there been any considerations made for these builds? This is funny because when I was reading this, I was like, no skill? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, it's actually a skill. Like, you need some skills to play this, but he's talking about like actual skill itself, category and type, not actual player skill. So yeah, any considerations? Like,
Yeah.
will we see Zoom Zoom builds? I think I love this build personally. This was super fun. Had different kind of like moments in it, and I think we also got to see that in the community. So I guess they're just asking now, like, with all the new changes coming in, will we be
Yeah.
able to see more builds similar to this?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think to sort of answer, I think both sides of that question. Um, Broadly speaking, the philosophy with the skill tree changes, moving the passives, changing legendaries, uniques, all that sort of stuff, all of that is to still hopefully support any sort of like existing fan favorite builds, right? Like we want to be careful of that. So like that potentially helps advise like which things get moved where and how that sort of works, because we want all those builds to still work. It's more about just adding extra things on top of that. So like, you know, I think you guys saw it probably in the reveal video. Right, we've got like necromancer minions are like in the tree, so now you have like the ability to level those up directly, power those up, and customize those more, right? That sort of thing of like, hey, you should still be able to do an existing necro build with that, but now you have more options. So the same thing should be sort of with Spiritborn, that sort of thing. Like a lot of the passives in the Spiritborn tree even sort of helped sort of inspire the general philosophy of like how legendaries sort of work now and sort of be build amplifying and sort of enabling.
Thank you for that. So, and you know what? To send us off, we have another awesome. Thanks to our awesome Anisa who pulled this again. Are there any more updates planned for endgame combat? Because after the recent combat changes with Combat Evolved, the early game combat feels great, but it really starts to fall apart in the endgame, especially when pushing the tower. Question originally sourced from Lord Sora.
So we are actually okay. So there's a bunch of new elite affixes we added to the game. We are always looking at like readability of those. That's top of mind, right? Because we feel like often when we see like combat issues, it's like, okay, can you tell what's going on? Because if you can't tell what's going on, then who cares, what we do with the tuning if you still can't visually see what's going on. So we are looking at, what we consider potentially worst offenders and trying to figure out what we can do to make that clear, or if we need to change the mechanic to make it more clear. There's no specifics to talk about, but we are actively looking at this. And one of the kind of cool things about having the tower in the game right now is it puts a very big magnifying glass on things like this, where it's hard to ignore because it suddenly bubbles up to the surface, right? And it's not something that I think is necessarily easy for players to just avoid. They got to deal with it, which means the game just kind of gets better as a result, I think, by addressing issues that have such a severe impact on the tower. Beyond that, we're literally changing every skill tree and removing a bunch of free power from it. So tuning wise, the game is changing dramatically as a result of this, right? There's power that is just kind of given away for free, sometimes like 400%, 500%, depending on what you do with your skills, that people are just kind of getting. And this is really weird for tuning, right? Because we're sort of tuning the game, to in terms of like pit difficulty tiers as an example, right? It's like, well, depending on how you've spec'd out your character and how you've tried to customize your playstyle, you are now in a different power band. Even if you're the same level and have pretty much the same items as someone else. So we're kind of looking at this as a way to narrow this gap dramatically, and it should mean that we can honestly tune the game better. That's the hope. So there's a lot of tuning changes happening all throughout those tiers. And I know people have noticed like Torment 5 as an example. Yeah, we are also adding Torment tiers alongside this to kind of ease this journey a little bit for players as well.
So I think what we'll do here is first, before anything else, thank you everyone. Thank you to all the mods for helping gather all those questions. I think this time around just made it super easy to identify some of the more prominent questions that are super important to the community. Hopefully, we were able to answer some stuff. There's so much. When I read something over here, I'm like, oh, I want to throw it to you guys to answer right away.
Did I answer? Did people understand kind of the answer for the end game combat thing? I just want to make sure I didn't.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Let me pause
Okay.
for a second. Players, just want to make sure
Okay, cool.
that it was clear. Awesome. Before we dip out of here and go, Zalvin, Bjorn, just want to throw it to your way, just in case there's anything that you'd like to express or share to the awesome people that are tuning in here, or maybe watching in later recordings.
Go for it, Bjorn. You go first.
Yeah, I mean, hey, tune in March 5th to learn more about Warlock. It's hey, I want to talk about Warlock too, guys. So hit me up then. But yeah, looking forward to it. I can't wait to see what you guys do with the class. I think it'll be really exciting.
I think it's a fantastic expansion all the way through. We're talking so much about the systems and features, but honestly, whenever this is out, I hope everyone just kind of goes to Scovos, plays through the campaign. When all is said and done, just go relax, go fishing somewhere in Sanctuary, and have a blast. Every part of this is feeling good for us right now, so we hope you guys feel the same way when it's out.
Awesome. For my side, just giving thanks as well. Obviously, with new formats like this, with Sanctuary Sit Down, we're always trying to learn from everyone. Would love to get any feedback on things that we could do better for folks. We're trying to find a balance between this and the developer updates. Obviously, you guys have seen that we've been doing a lot of the pre-recorded bits to kind of like dive deep and be really explicit about the information that we've read is super important for you guys. Like less filler. Like let's get to the nitty gritty and actually let's get a little bit geeky. I was gonna say a bad word. I was like this is a place where we're permitted to get geeky because we're not bullshitting with airtime. We're not just filling the air with a whole bunch of like overly fluff stuff. Like you want percentages, you want this and that, like we'll give it to you. And I think this is a place where, we can write the checks to kind of like have a little bit more fun, be a little bit more open, probably answer the questions that normally wouldn't be able to get surface in any other areas. But yeah, things like duration, like should this be 30 minutes, 45 minutes? Learning now that 30 minutes kind of might be a little short, but appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in for this episode of Sanctuary Sit Down. Big appreciation to the mods and Sanctuary Sit Down. Again, a lot of stuff was announced yesterday. If you're a player of Diablo games for Diablo Immortal, D2R and D4, a lot of awesome stuff. Looking forward to seeing everyone on D2R if you're into it. If you're on Twitch, don't forget about our most recently released badge. Subscribe to a friend that plays D4. Yes, I know it's a pain that it doesn't exist for the D2R category. You could blame me for that. But I'll find a way to do it better in the future. But thank you guys. Look forward to catching up. Mark your calendars. March 5th. Cool stuff's on the way. Have fun, be safe, and get all them loots. Catch you later, folks. Peace.